where we're learning more about the white police officer who shot a black man 7 times in the back. The Justice Department has opened a civil rights investigation into Sunday's shooting after 3 days of violent protests there. Wisconsin's governor has sent at least 500 members of the National Guard to Kenosha County, and the NBA postponed 3 playoff games yesterday after players staged a boycott protesting the shooting. There are reports they may consider more action. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, we'll go to Mola Lenghi in Kenosha, where he's on top of this story. Mola, what can you tell us? What's the latest there?
Well, Gail, it was another night of protests out here last night, but a very different atmosphere, much calmer than previous nights. You know, not a whole lot different than it looks and feels out here right now. That's after a police-enforced curfew kicked in an hour earlier.
Wednesday was Kenosha's quietest night since Jacob Blake was shot by police on Sunday. Although protesters stayed out well past the earlier daylight curfew, there were no major conflicts in the streets.
During the incident, officers attempted to arrest Jacob S. Blake.
Last night, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul announced new details about Sunday's shooting. He identified the officer who shot Blake as Rustin Shesky, an officer with the Kenosha Force for 7 years. In the first press conference by the AG since Sunday's shooting, Kaul said investigators recovered a knife from the driver's side floor of Blake's SUV.
During the investigation following the initial incident, Mr. Blake admitted that he had a knife in his possession.
Blake has undergone surgery and is still recovering in the hospital.
Good afternoon.
And Kenosha Police Chief Daniel Miskinis said violent riots are overshadowing the incident that prompted protests in the first place.
The underlying message is about racial tension and police violence. When things become violent, that message is lost.
On Tuesday night, 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse, allegedly seen here on video wielding a gun, started firing off rounds as bystanders approached him. 2 of the people shot died of their wounds. Rittenhouse walked right past police and from the scene, and it wasn't until Wednesday that authorities arrested him in his hometown of Antioch, Illinois, 20 miles away. The teenager's social media, which has since been taken down, reveals a fascination with police.
We're protecting from the citizens, and I just got pepper sprayed.
A video posted to Twitter on Tuesday appears to show a conversation with the alleged gunman shortly before the deadly incident.
Well, sources tell CBS News the FBI has sent special agents here to Kenosha to help with the investigation. The officers involved in the shooting and Blake's shooting have been placed on leave. None have been charged. Wisconsin officials say they are fully cooperating with the investigation. Anthony.
Mola, thank you. You can't help but notice the contrast here between a black man who they think might have a knife ends up being shot in the back 7 times, and a young white man who is carrying a gun and leaving the crowd walks right by police officers.
At one point, if you continue looking at the tape, Anthony, you can see where police officers give him a bottle of water, where the crowd is shouting, "He shot somebody, he's shooting." I mean, and this is what is so frustrating when you talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, where the people are saying the Black Lives Matter too. You know, all lives matter, but it seems that black life is not valued in this country, and that's why this is so upsetting to me. You know, they talk about a knife in his possession. We should point out that the knife was in the car underneath the floor mat. So when they shot him while they're holding his shirt, they did not know anything about the knife. He did not have the knife on his possession at that time. It was in the car. And every time I look at that video, which is becoming harder and harder to look at, I feel that those could be the last steps that he will ever take in his life, because they're saying that he's probably going to be paralyzed. It's just, it's so unfair, and it's so mischaracterized about what is happening. You know, when you look at the Black Lives Matter movement, you've got to look at the cause of why this is happening. These aren't people just going crazy in the streets for no reason. It's too much to me.